Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome to a program here at Sharjah Media Corporation, getting closer to Allah, getting to know your Lord. And we hope and we pray that the believers are blessed with abundance, those who remember Allah on a regular basis and obeying His commandments. And those of you out there who haven't come to this point in your life that this become a means of your guidance to the truth that you'll understand, and the light of guidance will into your hearts. And this, in relationship to the Christians and Jews specifically, I would like to address, because there are people who say that they believe in the same God that we do. Some people are confused about that. And if they say that they believe in that which was brought by Moses and that which was brought by Jesus, and before them Abraham, and in conclusion by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then there's the one and only God, the same God. And it's important to understand that there are people who purposely have attempted to cause confusion among the so-called monotheistic religions. And of course, who is that? We need to understand that. Who is that being? And that is Satan. And it reminds me of when I was a child, and I was raised as, in America we call Southern Baptist, and I can remember the Southern Baptist ministers of my grandfather's generation. I was just a small boy, and we used to call them the fire and brimstone preachers. And they used to always talk about going to hell, and they used to always talk about Satan, and they shouted and they screamed and like this from the minbar, from the podium. And of course, as children, I remember that, we used to imitate them, jokingly imitate them after going to church. And actually one of my uncles actually is a doctor of Christian theology now. He's a Christian minister. And he used to be the one who used to imitate them the most. He's like an older brother to me. And I can remember this very well, how they used to talk and how they used to emphasize the influence of Satan in society. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I came from a Christian background to become a Muslim. And after becoming a Muslim, I began to understand really the truth about Satan and how he works and how he is working on us today. And myself, to be a person over 50 years old, when I think about a half a century and I look at how I live my life and how I live my life as a Muslim and how distinguished it is from that time, and what we're seeing in today's world compared to what we saw in the 20th century and what I heard from my grandfather of the 19th century. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it's very clear and distinguished that Satan is really, for lack of a better description, upped his game. He has moved his game up to another level. And I'm saying this to all of the people out there who say they believe in God. The people who don't believe in God, this is another issue. I'm not addressing them specifically unless you're listening and you really want to know about God. Because I've met a lot of people outside who say, I don't know God. I was raised an atheist, or I've chosen to be an atheist because I don't know God. I don't understand, with the belief in God. And I'm not dealing specifically with those people now, but I want to address the people who say they believe in God. And that, of course, there's a huge group of people out there today who say they believe in God, but they don't confess to believe with any one religion. We need to understand something, that this manipulation of Satan is taking people away from the belief in God. And there are a lot of efforts being made to start on babies and teaching them things in the societies today, which previously, not so very long ago, unfortunately have become common in certain societies, to lead generations who will not believe in God. And of course, I don't want to talk about particular people or nations. I mean, this is something that you can research on your own. But there's a tremendous effort now to undermine the belief system that was brought by the prophets of Allah. And it's very interesting how we're being attacked. And the very core of the belief system is being attacked. And in many instances, people themselves who say we believe in God don't realize it. They don't realize it because some things have become general in their society. Let's take a simple thing. Let's take promiscuity, sexual promiscuity, as an example. This is something that has become prevalent globally. And not very long ago, in most societies, it was something that was frowned upon. But let's look at some of the things that came into being to help support this. One is birth control pills and devices. So people says, well, you can go and have a relationship and you don't have that, a woman doesn't have to worry about having a baby. You can have a boyfriend and you can have many boyfriends and there'll be no evidence of it. No one will know but you and him, as an example. So Satan says, okay, let's pump up boyfriends and girlfriends. Let's make this the order of the day. Not marriage, put marriage on the side, and let's talk about, oh, well, you know, we're young, let's have fun, let's get to know each other. It's better that we get to know each other before we get married. Then we know what we're getting into, as an example. And we saw this evolve. And look at the state of affairs today. Just look globally what is going. Look at the numbers of children who are being born out of wedlock. And look at the condition of those children. And in many instances, if you look around the world and you see where there's serious crime among youth, you're going to find a very high percentage of those young people were born out of wedlock. And they themselves continue that cycle. So that you have in many places in the world what you call street children, children who've grown up in the street, they've been raised in the street, as an example, in a similar manner. They've never had a family structure. So if we look at the simple breakdown of the family structure, now we have, well, you don't have to be a man to marry a woman, or you don't have to be a man, or vice versa, as an example, okay? You can be a man during the day and a woman at night, and vice versa, as an example, or anything in the middle, whatever it is that you want to be. So I'm just taking these as an example, and these are both things which we find are sexually orientated, but the impact in the society is tremendous. And it's very clear about these things from the revelation of God. And it is clear for the Christians in the Old Testament, and it's clear for the Jews in the Torah. And the people who know about the Old Testament know, and the people who know about the Torah know, and there's no disagreement about that. But of course, there's a modern generation that says, well, you know, this is modern time. We're in 2018 now, brother. So everyone is free. Don't you think we should have freedom of choice, and it is our choice to be as we will? I ask you this question. If we have freedom of choice, then why did Allah create us as we are? And why did Allah reveal guidelines? And those guidelines are consistent. Yes, those guidelines are consistent. If we look at the guidelines that Jesus ﷺ was following, we'll see the similarities. We follow and we see the guidelines that Moses ﷺ was brought, we'll see the consistency in this. There's no inconsistency in these things. But it is also very clear that when mankind disobeys the commandments of Allah, that he becomes worse than an animal. And people says, well, brother, I don't know about that. I says, well, let's look at something that's horrible that's going on today. Another story. Just something that we could never imagine. Killing of people for body parts. If someone out there, you don't think that's horrible? I'm not talking about someone who volunteers, says, okay, I'm dying. Okay, when I die, I want to donate my heart or my kidneys or my liver, fine. If you can find someone who it will help, okay. No. I'm talking about people who are being killed, slaughtered like sheep, literally, okay, for their body parts. Kidnapped or tricked and kidnapped by any means, whatever it might be, as an example. It's a kind of horror that you cannot conceive of until you actually see it. And it is evident that this is going on wholesale globally today. And it's a huge business with huge profits. But who could imagine that human beings would be on this level? So the point I'm making is very simply that when man leaves the belief in God, and that belief along with the fear of God. Now somebody says, well, God is a loving God. That is true. And Allah says that his forgiveness far exceeds his punishment. But there's a point there that a lot of people don't want to accept. He also says, more or less, in the translation, that his punishment is severe. And this is a warning for those who will take heed. So don't cross the lines. Many people, I talk to many young people, and many young people, they are very confused today about where are the lines, where are the lines? Okay, this is normal where I come from in my society, Miss X says, and Mr. Y says, yeah, also in my society this is common, even more or less. So what's the big deal? What we're doing is legal by our society. So what difference does it make? Something we must understand. We have to go back. We need to understand who is our creator. Why did he create us? And many people don't understand that. That Allah, the one and only God, is our creator and our sustainer. He created us solely for his worship. If we don't understand that. And we are to follow those guidelines, just as we follow guidelines in everything in our life of some way or another. But he's given us free choice. He's given us flexibility. But also within the guidelines of obeying him, he's given us flexibility. But we need to understand that. And the things which I have mentioned, and this is just one of many that I've chosen. And of course, people can disagree with it as you choose. And many people feel that they're enjoying it. It says, well, hey, what's the big deal? Everybody's having fun enjoying them. But we need to understand something, that our time on the other end, all of us know this, and many of us are in denial about it. Our time on this earth is limited. Many of us, again, have been fooled by Satan to believe that, okay, my time is limited, I know that, but when I die, that's it. So I'm going to enjoy myself to the maximum now, here and now. This is my time. Why is it that you don't want me to do as I choose? I'm not a lawbreaker. I follow the law. I obey the law. I'm not breaking the law. But I want to enjoy myself. I want to do what people are doing today to enjoy myself. And I'm young. When I get old, maybe I'll think about God, or maybe I'll become religious like some old people do. And maybe I'll repent for what I did when I was young. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. This is a very dangerous statement because we don't know, none of us know when that time is going to come to us, but all of us know it's coming. Now, I always say this, people say, nobody has ever said this to me in my face, but I know because I talk to a lot of young people. They say, look at that old guy with the white beard out there. He's talking about dying because he's close to death himself. He lived his life. He's enjoyed himself. Now he's frightening us about, our lives. Well, there's one of the things that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentioned in the last days, which we're seeing the beginning of it now, but it will increase, that there will be sudden death. And we're seeing today something we didn't see before. Young people, even athletes, guys who are in tremendous condition, professional athletes, world-class athletes, Just don't wake up. Go to sleep at night, don't wake up. The guy just falls down the street or at his computer, or she's same thing at her computer, somebody pushed over, boom, she's gone, finished. The methodology of death is of no consequence. That doesn't matter, really, because there's nothing that that person could have done to change that. It is the decree of Allah that we die when it is prescribed. And we will not die before and will not die after, not 1 second. Nor the methodology will change at all. We need to understand this. When we begin to understand this, regardless of what we do, what we eat, or what we don't eat, all of us are going to die. And whatever methodology means that is, was a means for us to die, one way or another. It is not a question of if we didn't do this that we wouldn't die. No. No, not at all. We could have been better off. For example, you get a guy who's a chain smoker. Without question, he could have been better off without smoking, but he chose to smoke. And he wound up dying from lung cancer or larynx cancer or something like that. Sure, he could have died in a better way. He had choices, didn't he? But he still was going to die. So if we understand that, we need to understand where is it that we're going? What is it that we're doing? How are the things that we're doing in our life to impact us after we leave this world? Is it only over? Only on this and that's it? I'm finished. I live my life. Everything is great. I'm finished. No. We say no. We say there are other phases that man has to go through. And it is the intelligent person that gains some understanding of this and pursues this knowledge, doesn't hide from it or fear it or become ignorant of it, but pursues it and gains knowledge of it for his own sake. Just as any journey that we're going to undertake, isn't it clear if we're going to take a journey and you're going to a strange place, today, so much information is literally at your fingertips. Wouldn't it be an intelligent thing to try to find out about it? So similarly, what we're encouraging everyone to do, find out about Islam now. And we encourage you, accept Islam before you die. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Media Corporation on getting closer to Allah and getting to know your Lord, and by Allah's permission, your heart to be open to the ultimate truth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.